Whose Miriam Margulies didn't go very far? Glees. Whose Mel B was more Mel Z? And who said they had a fat ass? When in fact they don't. It's time for another episode of Yorkshire Tea. Okay, so I know this is awful. I know Anne Robinson. This is not an Anne Robinson wig. These are not Anne Robinson glasses. Anne Robinson doesn't have a beard. But I've had a very stressful day. My microphone isn't working, so the sound on this is going to be crap. So frankly, be thankful that you're getting an episode at all this week. Karen hair and Karen attitude. Of course, it is Snatch Game week, so I've come dressed as what was one of my options. Was? Why not anymore, Crudy Dench? Well, Exhibit A. Number 2, I've said far too many defamatory things about this show and certain people on it to ever be on the actual show itself. And 3, I found out that Anne Robinson is a terrible person, so would not want to do her on national television. I mean, I wouldn't want to do her on national television either. Joe Black has just been sent home again, and titty tit. There's a lot of chat about RuPaul's apology. There is some questioning about what are people's tactics coming up, and we get one of the most relatable moments in this show so far.
It really smells.
Drag queens stink. That is a fact of life. And I'm glad it's been represented. The next day, vegan eyelashes. I didn't know you could eat eyelashes. The maxi challenge this week is obviously Waggity Spank, otherwise known as Snatch Game. Ellie tells us that one of her options is Matt Lucas as Vicky Pollard. Now, official rule of Snatch Game states that you can't play fictional characters. You can only play real people, alive or dead. That's why she is playing Matt Lucas as Vicky Pollard. Which, I'm not sure about queens doing comedy characters for Snatch Game. It's the same with Tace doing Jane Turner as Kath Day Knight from Kath and Kim. I feel like it's a bit of a cop-out, to be honest, because you don't have to work as hard to make the characters funny, because that's what they already are. They're comedy characters. But I'm not going to dwell on this too much, because one of my actual Snatch Game options is, in fact, that it's a comedy character, so let's just quickly move on. There's not too much workroom banter in this episode. We get this great zinger from Ahura, though.
And I enjoy not being me, so...
I love it when you're not you as well.
I know, and I love when you're me.
Because of COVID reasons, there is now this weird parents' evening type setup where they all have to come up to RuPaul and justify their Snatch Game picks. Also, essentially what this section is a big flag of these are the tops and the bottoms of the week. Tia talks about doing Shirley Bassey, but Ru asks if she has any other options. And here is where the unofficial rule of Snatch Game comes in. Never listen to anybody else's suggestions about your character, especially RuPaul. Gigi Goode managed to avoid that in season 12, but unfortunately Tia has fallen for it here and decides to go with Mel B to give RuPaul big hair. Bad choices. It's a shame because I think Shirley Bassey would be really good because, well, what you do is Matt Lucas as Shirley Bassey. I guess she didn't have the range.
She doesn't have the range.
Oh, am I dreadfully out of focus? Oh, I am. I very am. I think I might have been very out of focus for this episode, but again, stressful day, can't be arsed, let's go. We then have RuPaul, untrained therapist Charles, teasing a little family trauma out of Ellie, which we'll see the culmination of later on. Lawrence comes in with Miriam Margolyes, and again, bad advice from RuPaul.
Just be yourself.
Yeah.
No, the challenge is to be somebody else. Ah! Bimini comes in with Katie Price, great reasoning for doing it, perfect choice, and it pays off. Ahura also pays a trip for some unlicensed therapy because she is not confident out of drag. Perfect for the uber-confident Louis Spence. She also says that she will
Go for it full balls every time. If that makes sense?
Yeah, I was just confused. I've never heard the term full balls.
It's a northern thing.
Oh.
No. No, no. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. You're just a big weirdo. Snatch game time, and our contestants are Sharon Needles and Gemma Collins, who is so low energy she wouldn't be able to even power her own heated rollers.
Straighteners are what fucking weirdos use on their hair.
Going through the cast and their performances, Tia as Mel B. First of all, that hair is a choice. And I felt like she didn't vary up her answers enough. Sometimes a repeated callback can be very funny, but to keep going on about Eddie Murphy, which to be honest I didn't really know was a thing. Was that a thing? Ooh, it came off a bit desperate. As I've said, I think Shirley Bassey would have been better. Sister as Psychic Sally, good. Good gags. Right to be safe, I think. Tried to interact with some of the other contestants a bit, but didn't really work out. Lawrence as Miriam Margolyes on first viewing, absolutely hated it. Didn't think he got Miriam at all. On second viewing, I can see where he was going with stuff. Like, he kind of has the posh voice down. Miriam does have a very filthy mouth. But I think he played her too soft, and crucially, kind of fell out of character a bit. Ellie as Matt Lucas as Vicky Pollard. Good characterization, kept character throughout, but sometimes angry characters are a little bit harder to make funny in this environment, especially when you're directing that anger at RuPaul. In comparison, I think Tace pulled this off quite well with her
Chucky Nick? Yeah. Do I look Chucky? Really? Do I look Chucky to you?
characterization fell a little bit sometimes, and there were no gut-punching gags. Ahura as Louis Spence. Didn't quite get the movements she was doing throughout. She looked like, you know, a video game character selection screen. Loved the legs gag, but she suffered by going too far in on the speech impediment to the point where sometimes we couldn't really understand what she was saying. A speech impediment that did work, however, was Bimini as Katie Price.
As you know, Rue, you might have heard in the press.
Absolute masterclass in Snatch Game. Here are a couple of the reasons she did so well. Firstly, the hack of Snatch Game. You can write jokes in advance, and Bimini had some great lines prepared. Not all of them had stuff to do with Katie Price either. They were just funny jokes. Full characterization throughout, didn't drop at one moment. And when she did have some ad-libs, they were uninterrupted and spot on. The main weakness I felt from this Snatch Game was Rue not knowing anything. Having to explain what the answers mean, and let's be honest, it was most of the answers. Really hampered the pace on what is normally quite a zingy, fast-paced maxi challenge. The next day in the workroom, Lawrence and Tia have a little chat about how they did crap. And we go into a little bit more detail of Ellie's family history. Ellie has felt a little in the background for me throughout the season, so it's nice to get a bit more focus on her, and hers is an important story to tell. I personally can sometimes get siloed in positivity and think, it's 2021! Nobody gets kicked out for being gay anymore. That's something that happened in the 90s.
Oh, come on, Brenda. It's the 90s, for God's sake.
When in fact Ellie's story at just 21 years old proves that homophobia, despite the large steps that have been made in the past few years, is still unfortunately alive and well, and affecting young people in the same way it's been affecting them throughout history. Onto the runway, and Rupaul, I thought you said no H&M. Guest judge this week is Jessie Ware. I'll be honest, I didn't know who she was. Apparently she does some very nice podcasts. But, you know, so do my mates. Here they are. These are the podcasts that they do. Go listen to them, because they are great. Links in description. The runway theme this week is prehistoric, which I hate! It's such a shit theme. It's the same thing every time when they do this. It's just bones and tiger print. Like, props to Bimini for thinking outside the box, but I still hate it. It's so boring. Ugh. It's clear from the judging that the bottoms are going to be Tia and Lawrence. Lawrence gets our final dose of unlicensed therapy on the runway.
What are you emotional about?
What are you emotional about? I kind of look like a therapist like this. A horrible therapist. What are you emotional about? 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 I'll be offering Zoom sessions after this video. 50 quid an hour. I think that's reasonable. Back in the workroom, Ellie and Sister are on their own and don't really have much to say. But I think Sister is fucking hilarious here.
Yay, good for us. Sexy. Let's bonk. No, that's silly.
And so hilariously savage later on.
Yeah, she shouldn't have been so shit.
Like, fuck what people are saying online. She deserves her space in this show. She's great. The rest of the workroom scene feels a little disjointed. Like, the confessionals don't really match up with the emotional tone of what's going on in the workroom. I feel for you on what you're going through. Oh, I can't wait for that bitch to leave. Thank you for telling us about your emotional problems. When will that care? Shut up! Bimini is announced as the winner, and then we get the best moment of this episode, when Ahura throws her coat down on the floor. I feel that. That is my mood today. Like a 10-year-old coming in after a bad day at school. All they want is to watch Lizzie McGuire and have a bag of Monster Munch. And you can have that, Ahura. You eat that Monster Munch. The lip sync felt a little bit lackluster, probably because, well, we knew who was going to win. I am really going to miss Tia. Right to the end, she's given us some great lines.
Are you sure?
And the show is going to be a little bit more boring without her. Overall, this episode was fine. I feel like we haven't really hit that point where we've got a really good classic Snatch game like we've got in some of the US seasons. But it'll come eventually. Like we all do. That's it from me this week. If you've liked what you've seen, heard or experienced in this video, then as always, please like, share with your friends, subscribe, comment down below. Who do you think I look like? If not Anne Robinson. Most hilarious answer gets a prize. Prize. You can follow me online, it's at Crudy Dench, that's Crudy with an I, like Judy, but far more crude. And I'll see you next time for another edition, hopefully with better sound, of Yorkshire Tea with me, Crudy Dench. Are you a lesbian, Rue? Then why do you dress like a lesbian?